Hello, everyone. It's the first live stream of this cohort. Hi, everyone. I'm Chloe Condon from Microsoft, and I have Julia joining me today. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Chloe.
How's it going? You are joining us over from the East Coast. It's a little later for you, right?
Yeah, it's already dark outside, actually.
Wow, I'm watching the sunset out my window right now. We're gonna just wait a couple minutes for people to join us. But in the meantime, Julia, I thought we could reminisce real quick. And while we do, I'm gonna be tweeting out that we're live and everything so people know what we're doing here. But for anybody who's joining us, I think we have 0 people with us right now. So we're gonna vamp. We're gonna vamp a little bit. I'm gonna tweet. How about this? You and I, this is what I do on my other show. We're gonna like pose. We'll do a pose, and then I'll screenshot it and we'll tweet it out.
Okay.
Okay, so let me get my setup here. Okay, Okay, ready? We'll do one. Or what are we gonna do? We'll just smile, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
1, 2. Okay, cool. I'm gonna tweet this. I was gonna say for anybody joining us, but it says 0 right now. I don't believe it though. That seems sus to me. But okay, we're gonna vamp. We're gonna vamp. I'm gonna tweet. We're gonna vamp. But Julia, you were in the last cohort of
It was.
Bootcamp.
Yeah.
Do we call it cohorts? We call it classes. We're gonna call
Ah,
it people.
cohort. That sounds good.
And tell the lovely folks who may be joining us in the recorded version of this lecture slash show a little bit about your experience. Oh, we've had 6 people suddenly. Suddenly it was 6 people.
Yay.
Hello, 6 people. Hello. If you've been here the whole time and this just updated, I apologize. But Julia, as I was just saying, was in the previous BitCamp, which if folks aren't familiar with BitCamp, it is an awesome program that teaches high school students and now everyone all over the world how to program using really awesome free open source tools that are out there and available for everyone. But Julia, for the lovely folks at home, while I tweet this awesome picture of us and tell everybody we're online right now, how about for folks who aren't familiar with BitCamp or maybe your journey into programming, tell us a little bit about how you found out about BitCamp.
It was actually through a local high school. We got was it like a notification that there was this boot camp, a serverless boot camp hosted by Bit Project, and I decided to apply. And it was about 2 days before the deadline, or maybe even like 1 day before the deadline. And it was awesome. I got in, and I got into the serverless bootcamp, which is what we're doing right now. And it was really fun, but it was also challenging because even though the prerequisite was kind of like just dive in, going hard. But it was awesome because I got to work with things I've never worked with before, like APIs and Azure Functions, which is really awesome. But it really just introduced me to new tools that I had no idea even really existed before Bit Project.
And had you done any coding before the cohort before when you did Bit Project, or were you just kind of a beginner coder?
Pretty beginner, honestly. I'd done a little bit of coding through Khan Academy, but never something really hardcore. This really got me into it.
Yeah, and serverless is such a fun way to kind of like dip your toes. Like there's all these different fun programming. Sorry, I was just listening to myself on Twitch for a second. There's a bunch of fun ways out there to dip your toes into programming, like Julia mentioned, like Code Academy. I know myself, I used, so many different free online resources to learn how to code when I first started out. But there's really a big difference between taking an online course, going through the motions of doing that, having a sandbox mode, and then really like building a serverless application, like very different experience. So for our students, so we probably have some people who are joining us who are part of the current BitCamp cohort. Welcome. So excited to be meeting you virtually through Twitch. And we may have some new folks who are just coming here to learn, and that's awesome. And something that Bit Project is doing this time around is opening up the lectures to everyone. But while I tweet this out, Julia, tell the people at home the awesome project that you built, because I'm kind of obsessed with the serverless project you built using Azure Functions, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. It's called Come Rain or Shine, and it was basically a planner for tomorrow. What you do is you entered your zip code, and then a weather API would return the forecast for tomorrow based on the zip code. And then I ran through an algorithm that I created, and it would come up with things you should do tomorrow. So activities. So like if it's cold outside, maybe go sledding or skiing or just play in the snow. Or if it's warm outside, maybe go swimming or read if you're not an outdoor person. So that was really fun.
Such a great name. A reference to, I'm assuming, Come Rain or Come Shine, the song, which we love. And yeah, there were so many. I'm trying to think of some of the other projects from that cohort. I mean, there's so many amazing projects that, like, I think especially once you kind of discover this superpower of serverless, like you're like, oh, Azure Functions. So I can not only build this, but a couple of my favorite things that I've built with Azure Functions. Mean Girls Day app with my good friend Kimberly, that on Mean Girls Day, or any day really, we'll text you Mean Girls quotes back to you. I've made ADHD medication reminders with Azure Functions. Oh gosh, fake boyfriend apps, one of my favorites, which uses the Twilio API for a fake boyfriend or fake whatever you want really. But there's so many cool things that you can do. And today we're going to be talking about Azure Functions. We're going to be talking about Visual Studio Code. We're going to be talking about GitHub, which are all really, I think, good core basic tools to know if you're going to be building a serverless project. While I tweet this, how about, Julia, you tell the folks at home about your first experience playing with GitHub. Personally, when I was first learning GitHub, I was 25, 26, and it is very easy to get confused and lost in the weeds on like, wait, so I do a pull request and am I in the right fork and am I in the right repo? So to give and I've been their story, perhaps tell the folks at home your personal GitHub journey.
Yeah. Honestly, before Bitcamp, I didn't know what GitHub was. So we had to create a GitHub account for the program. And the first week I was so lost because they were talking about repos and all these pull requests and issues and forks. And I was just, what's going on?
A lot of new words. Yeah.
Yeah. But I figured it out eventually. Then I got into Learning Lab for the course and trying to figure all that stuff out, getting everything synced, making sure just everything's up to speed and all the different forks are on the same page. It's definitely you really have to be paying attention to multiple things at once.
Oh yes. I just sent her a tweet out with our awesome picture of us. We're gonna get like we're gonna get like 1 million viewers. We got 12 now. But yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think I even after my boot camp enrolled in a GitHub online course just to like even deeper familiarize, because it even becomes different. Working on GitHub on a solo project is so different than contributing to an open source project or working with people in a team setting on GitHub. So for folks who are joining us who are brand new to coding or welcome to the students who are in this cohort. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but we're here to make it easy. We're going to make it easy, fun, interesting, maybe tell some jokes along the way.
Definitely.
All right, so I am bringing everything up here. I, of course, will be sharing some links and resources, and if people have any questions, we have comments. Hi, Daniel. Hi. Hi, what took so long? I know. I was giving Julia a pep talk. But tell us a little bit about what we're going to be going over today. I know, of course, because we rehearsed. But for the people at home, what will we be going over today?
We're going to be going over the GitHub Learning Lab, navigating the Serverless Bootcamp Learning Lab, and also installing the necessary extensions in Visual Studio Code so you can work on your Azure function through VS Code. And also, we'll be deploying an Azure resource as well as an Azure function.
So exciting. I know it sounds like a lot of stuff, but it's easier than it sounds. We promise. It's a lot of new words for folks who are maybe new to this kind of stuff, but we're doing it. Okay. So I'm just going to close out a couple tabs here. I'm going to get my Visual Studio Code open, so we're ready to go. But folks joining us today in the chat, if you have any questions or if we skip over anything or you're like, hey, I totally missed that one part. What does that mean? Treat this like a classroom. Oh my gosh, I literally just tried to open Visual Studio Code and instead just opened a Wikipedia article of it. Okay, let me find my VS Code here. There we go. All right, I'm gonna get my bit project stuff. Got to close out my Shania Twain bot that I was working on. I use GitHub for all kinds of things. All right, here we go. Going back to where we need to be. Okay. Oh, okay. So I've got my Visual Studio Code open. So for folks who are joining us, there may be a chance. I of course have Visual Studio Code on my computer already. I work at Microsoft, use Visual Studio Code all the time. But we'll be clicking through some things that may look a little bit different for you because it will be your first time using it. But we have lots of awesome resources and things to share with you. So, Julia, where should I start? What should we do? Where should we start this beautiful journey into serverless?
So I think we should start by installing Visual Studio Code if you don't already have that.
Perfect. I'm going to share my screen so people can see. I, of course, already have Visual Studio Code, so just pretend that, let me get everything over here. All right. Should have had 2 monitors on this, but oh well. Okay. We're learning as we go. Great. There we go. Da, da, da. I'm a professional. I am getting the right screen shared. Sorry, folks. Okay. 1 second, y'all. I am just getting on the right page. So we are in business here. Okay. And we're sharing. And we're not sharing. Okay, sorry. While I do this, talk amongst yourselves. Download Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to put this over here. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the correct window. Sorry, Julia. This is my bad. I should have changed screens before I did this. Okay, here we go. Actually, Julia, if you're able to share your VS Code instance, then we can do it through the live share link, which is one of my favorite features of Visual Studio Code. This is, there we go. Ba-ba-ba. Alrighty, but in the meantime, I'm just going to minimize this. All right. Do you have a live share link that you could share? Oh, actually, you know what? I'm just going to do it this way. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Sharing my application window. There we go. Da, 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 da. Okay. Visual Studio Code. Yeah, it says VS Code is because it's you versus the code. That's literally me right now trying to get my VS Code showing correctly on the screen. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to move this. Da, 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 da. So this is what VS Code is going to look like if you have it for the first time. If this is your first time using VS Code, they also have some Visual Studio coding packs for students that you can actually download that have a bunch of the different necessary things that you need to use VS Code. Of course, when Julia and I are going to be going through this today, there's a couple different things that you may need to download or add, but we will not be needing those. So Julia, I've got my VS Code here. What do I do?
So you're going to want to click on the little button on the side. It's got a little triangle and go down right there. Yeah.
This one.
Mm-hmm. That should be extensions, shouldn't it? Or no, whoops.
Maybe this one. We should make a new file, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. So we got our file here. Awesome. And then.
Oh, okay. There should be a maybe. Oh, right there. The 4 squares with the 4th one broken off there. That is the extensions. Okay.
Perfection.
So we're going to want to look up live server because that's super helpful when you're testing out HTML pages and just projects in general.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Boom. Installing. I love this very passionate, empathetic message from the maintainer. I'm sorry, but I'm super busy now. All right. Awesome. We've got live server.
Nice. And then we're going to want to look up Azure account.
Azure. Oops. If I spell Azure right. Azure account.
Okay.
There we go.
Yep.
I have this already, of course. As we
Mhm.
can see, I am signed into my account here. But this is for people who, sorry, they're arresting someone outside. This is for being able to actually log in and sync with your Azure account. So you can see here there's a bunch of different commands like sign in with device code, select subscriptions. So we're going to be showing kind of two different ways to be doing this today in VS Code and also working with the Azure portal. If these words are confusing to you or you don't understand, don't worry. They'll make more sense as we go along. All right, so I've got my Azure account. Ooh, and also this allows us to do really cool features like live share, which Julia, I will go ahead and share this with you when I'm not sharing my screen. So we can actually work almost like in a live document together. It makes pair programming remotely really, really easy and awesome. And that way we're not having to go like, nope, line 32, other line 32. Okay, good now. Okay, what else do we need?
We're going to need Azure App Service. That's another
Sure,
helps you
app
with.
service. Da-da-da. There we go. Install. And basically, by installing all of these different extensions, this is going to help us be successful in our deployment, our development. How is this helping us, Julia?
It helps when if you want to work locally on your Azure function rather than work directly in the Azure portal, which we'll get to that later.
Totally. Yeah. And for people who are maybe more visual people, the portal can be really, really great. I use the portal sometimes, but also just really great to have all these extensions in here that can kind of seamlessly help you work between the two. I always view the portal almost like the cloud, like that's the actual cloud, and then like VS Code is my connection to the cloud, which
Yeah.
it kind of is.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we need?
This is the last one. It's called Azure Functions.
Love it. Probably already have it, knowing how many I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, here we go. This is what it looks like. I use this one all the time. I love it. Functionality is really great. You can run your functions in here. Amazing. Okay, so we've got our extensions. I'm checking the chat. What does live server do? PJ asks.
Live server is it's a development local server, so you can have a temporary. You can temporarily launch your any HTML pages you have, and it'll look official, but it's not permanent. You can't just use the link, but it's really awesome for testing, and it works like 2 seconds. If you make a change, it'll show up immediately. And that's just super helpful if you're working on any kind of web page or just web project.
Yeah. So PJ, this is kind of what it looks like. It's especially useful for like front end HTML stuff. I mean, and even interaction. So it's almost like kind of a sandbox mode in a way for testing out that the code you have in VS Code. And yeah, look at this beautiful web design. We love it. Okay. Let's see. We've got a couple. Oh, hello, Calamity Darling. We've got lots of people joining us. 27 people joining us, Julia. So exciting. Okay, so now that we have all these extensions, what is next?
I think is that it for VS Code? I think
so. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let me check. So we are going to be sharing a couple links in the chat for different things that you can check out and resources. So we'll be dropping those on the screen shortly. We'll be sharing all those things. So is our next step here to go into portal?
I think it might be navigating the GitHub Learning Lab, actually.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, open a new one here. Get to my Learning Lab open. Who else? Raise your hand in the chat if you keep track of all the to-dos in your life by opening way too many tabs. Me. I'm navigating tabs. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to go to that lovely link that you sent me in the private chat. And for those of you who are joining us today, as we mentioned before, previously, Bitcamp specifically, was really only kind of open to the cohorts that were participating in it. But what's really fun about live streaming these and also having this learning lab, which I will make a short link shortly and drop that in the chat, is that this is open and available and open source to anyone. So if you're looking to follow along with the lovely students of our, how many students do we have this time, Julia? 10, 8, 100?
I think it's 8.
I think we have about 8 of them. So
Yeah.
highly encourage, if you're looking to be awesome like Julia, participate in something like this. There's some really great values of going through and participating with Bitcamp, like mentorship and working with industry experts within the program. But what's really awesome and exciting is all of this content, I'm gesturing the wrong way, all of this content's available and is open and available online and free to use, which I will make a short link and drop that in the chat by the end of this. But this is the beautiful GitHub Learning Lab. Super exciting. And for people who haven't used the Learning Lab before, Julia, I know what it is because I work at Microsoft, but explain to the folks at home about this lovely Learning Lab and what they can do.
So it's basically a way to create a coding course. And it's a little different than just a regular course where you just kind of complete the lessons and say you've completed them. You can add comments. You can commit your own code as a separate file. And it's honestly, you can kind of not make it your own, but you can really edit it and just add your own code to it, which is a really cool feature.
I'm just making a short link here. If you go to aka.ms/Bitcamp Learning Lab, which I'll drop in the chat here shortly, you can follow along with us. Let's see, aka.ms/ super professional here, doing it on the fly. There we go. Getting the right slashes, copy, pasting it. Okay, putting it in the chat. Yes, and I love Learning Lab. It's really cool because it basically uses the functionality of kind of like automated triggers to like make sure that you've completed the different tasks throughout it.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'll scroll this lovely banner at the bottom if I can get it to be a ticker. There we go. Ta-da! See, it was worth it. Okay. But yeah, this has so we're going to be doing these every week, every Monday. This is our first one, week 1. We'll be doing next week, spoiler alert, week 2. And then after that, week 3. And then after that, stay tuned for a Monday weekly stream with my good friend Lorena, professional Ringling Brothers Circus clown turned engineer. And we're going to be building some really fun serverless project on Mondays going forward. So very exciting stuff. But yeah, this is basically acts like a free course. We'll show you in a second how it works. But let's look through this week 1. What are we doing today? We're going to create and deploy an Azure function. Oh, this is the learning objectives for the week. Sorry for what you've done this week. But yeah, sign up for Azure, commit to a README. So these are all things that we'll do in here. So should I start the course? Should we do
Yes.
this? So exciting. Okay. Starting the course. Very cool. So it'll show you something like this. Create and modify repositories on my behalf. Sure. Go for it. I'm being redirected to an authorized application. And great. Now I'm going to click on this. It's cloning the repository. It's magic. Adding the final touches. Do you ever, now that you like know how to program things, Julia, do you ever wonder when you see loading things like that if they're just a GIF? I do.
Yeah.
Once I learned that's how you could do these things, it's changed my life. Great. Okay. So creating an emotion reader with Azure, Face API, and HTTP triggers. So this will be what we're using along our journey to do all of this throughout the next couple weeks. So should we just start? Oh, we did it. Oh no, start.
No, I think you just did start.
Okay, we're gonna click start. All right, so here are fundamentals of JavaScript. So if you are joining the cohort and you want to play through this yourself, again, we've got the link at the bottom, aka.ms/Bootcamp Learning Lab. Please tell me in the chat if that doesn't if that doesn't work well. Looks like it's working well here, but it's got all these links and resources. We've got Stack Overflow. We've got the requirements. We've got all of this different stuff. So what should I do now, Julia?
So the really, really important part of this is you're going to want to scroll to the bottom of the page, and then the last sentence. That's how you're going to finish each. They call each lesson is called an issue.
Yes.
And so you're going to want to. That's how you're going to finish each issue or each lesson. So for this one, it says you want to comment, right? Comment your clock once you finish that. And then close the issue.
All right. So obviously, we're just kind of like going through this quickly for the sake of the stream. I'm not going to be making my JavaScript clock GitHub repo for this live stream. I know, huge disappointment. Wish we had the time. But again, just to reiterate, this is all available for free online. You can go through this all yourself. Create the clock, do as I say, not as I do. This is not part of that as seen by TV chicken rotisserie commercial where they're like, we said it and forget it. And they show the chicken, they put the raw chicken in. Now I'm going to comment. I'm going to put Julia rules. Doesn't matter what I comment. I'm going to put Julia rules. I'm going to comment it. Do I close with comment or comment?
Comment or maybe close with comment. Yeah, close issue with comment.
Okay, close with comment. There we go.
And also, if the next one doesn't show up, because sometimes that it doesn't show up, and always refresh it first, and then hopefully it'll show up. And if it doesn't, there's something wrong, but it should show up if you refresh.
And it says a new issue will be created with the next step. Click here to start. Awesome. Ta-da! Yeah. Okay, we did it. And great. Downloading IDE. We did this. Amazing. So this is great because for folks who are maybe watching this later or, looking to start off their software development journey with these projects, this is going to walk you through step-by-step all the different details that you need for Visual Studio Code, helpful YouTube video links. But of course, we already did this. And let's write a comment describing what we completed. I downloaded VS Code several years ago. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to close this. So the comment.
Actually, make sure. No, don't close it. That's one thing. Make sure only close it if it says to close it. If it doesn't say to close it, don't close it yet.
Okay. I'm just going to comment then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Comment. Da, 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 da. And are we done? Should I refresh it? Are we done? With
refresh it.
Refresh. I'll do a hard refresh. There we go.
Okay.
I love that it's talking to me. It's like encouraging me. It's like, you did it. Okay, so now it's saying configure Azure. Awesome. For this assignment, you will follow the instructions and complete a task showing your knowledge of the subject at the end. Great. So this is talking us through what is Azure. Great question. I, of course, if you're just joining now, I work as a cloud advocate for Microsoft Azure, so I'm very familiar with what Azure is, but let's walk through this for some folks who are maybe new to Azure. Azure is an ever-expanding set of cloud services to help your organization meet your business challenges. It's the freedom to build, manage, and deploy applications on a massive global network using your favorite tools and frameworks. I always like to show this visual, which this link may open up into here. Let's see. So obviously, here's the What is Azure page. You can take a look at all these different things. But a visual that I tend to look at, and just pretend this is Bing. So let's see. Azure, not going to Azure. Azure Services. So I love to look at this image to remind myself just how gigantic Azure truly is. It does so many things. Here's a little zoom in so we can check it out. So this is all divided by so many different things: security and management, compute, integration, web and mobile. I mean, there's IoT Hub, one of my favorite things to use with Azure. We've got developer service. You got your backend here, your databases. So when we say Azure, it covers a lot of things. It also covers a lot of regions and data centers. It also covers a lot of different ways of networking, traffic manager, VPN. So for the sake of this course, we're probably going to only be touching like a very small fraction of Azure, like the cloud, Azure itself. But then, of course, we're using Azure Functions. We're using Visual Studio Code, which is a Microsoft product, of course. But just know that we're touching the tip of the iceberg here. There's so many resources online to get certified and all these different things, but start small, go big. That's my Azure spiel. Azure's gigantic, so it's okay to feel overwhelmed at first. If you don't know what Azure means to begin with, we're going to break down some different smaller parts of Azure for you. So to create an Azure account, go to this link. I also have a handy dandy link. If you are using Azure Functions for the first time, or maybe you're using Azure itself for the first time, let's see. Ooh, actually, maybe I'll share that in a second. We'll share that in a sec. But you can just go to, let me grab a link. We'll make a link for this, Julia. You want to check out Azure. We will give a special Bootcamp link so you can follow along with us in the portal. But you can also just search Azure. Let me make that link. But in the meantime, Julia, tell me, talk amongst yourselves, as I love to say when I'm on stream. When you were using Azure for the first time, what was that experience like for you? Was it a little overwhelming with just how much there is to do in the portal?
Yeah, definitely. It's very like, if you don't like, once you get used to one path of, okay, you do this, and I know how to work on this, then you realize, whoa, there's so many other things I can do, because there's so many. If I click this button and click this, there's like a million other buttons I could click after I click this button, and there's so many different things you could do. It's really an awesome tool, but it can also be very overwhelming when you first see it.
Yeah, definitely. Which is why in this particular one, I'm just making this short link here. I'm gonna make it AKA. Let's think of a creative name. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. AKA.ms/Bitcamp Azure. We're gonna go with that. Bitcamp Azure. That's not taken. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Okay, I'm just adding it in here. So you can follow along with us. Great. Okay, perfect. Just got the notification that it's official. I'm putting it on the screen. AKA.ms/Bitcamp Azure. Okay. And I'm copying it and I'm putting it in StreamYard. I know this is great content, y'all. Okay. There we go. AKA.ms/Bitcamp Azure. And that will take us into a handy dandy page like this. You can start a free trial, of course. There are also student accounts. If we have any students out there, make sure to check out Azure for Students. Lots of awesome resources for free resources for students out there. All right, but I already have an Azure account, so I'm going to open my portal here. And all right, so we are talking about Azure. You won't be charged unless you use a premium account. Good to note. And you've got your resources here. Amazing. So now we're going to create and deploy an HTTP trigger Azure function that outputs the current time and date. All right, this sounds complicated, y'all, but it's going to be really easy. It's going to be super easy. So we are going to follow this link to set up and deploy our first Azure function on our local machine, which this is, let's see, that brought us to this link here, code and test Azure functions locally. So all of these resources are here. We also have a really handy dandy Microsoft Learning Lab, which you can check out at aka.ms/bitcampaz functions. And that'll look a little bit like this, aka.ms/bitcampaz functions. Da, 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 da. And this is a really awesome tutorial you can walk through, show you how to do all these things. If this is your very, very first time, if you want to do it in a sandbox mode. Okay, we're going to go back. Amazing. Okay. Wait, where did our tab go? Oh, because I clicked out of it. My bad. Okay. Where did it go?
I think it's the third tab.
Third tab. I think you're right. It kicked me out. It kicked me out of my learning lab. Okay, I'm going to resume it.
There we go.
Okay, cool. So we are here now. So should I go into the Azure portal?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's mine.
So first you want to click Create a Resource, the big plus button in the corner. And then it should be in Popular, Function App with the lightning bolt symbol.
There we go. One of my faves.
And then make sure you have the right subscription. That happened to me once where the old one got deleted and everything got deleted, which was rough. But make sure you have the right subscription, and then created a new resource group.
Perfect. For this one. I'm going to call this one Julia Rules with a Z. Okay.
Oh, I think the Bitcamp AZ functions is still up.
Oh, so. We could do that one. Let's make a new one. We'll do a new one because everyone else is going to be making a new one at home.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay. And then, we need a function app name. What should we name it?
Chloe Rules or?
Chloe Rules. You know what? I've probably used that. So I'm going to call it Julia Rules with 3 Z's. So we know the difference between our function app name and our resource group, because I've definitely got confused about that before.
Yep.
All right. And are we doing code?
Yes, I think so. Right. And then Node.js for the runtime stack, and then 14 LTS, or I think I have 12. But and then also click your click whatever region is your local region, or whatever would work best for the function.
Yes. And for people, we just rushed through that. So let's break down real quick what all this stuff is. So the subscription that we just typed in is the Azure subscription that I'm using. In this case, it's CH Condon. It's one that I have through Microsoft. We made a resource group. Now, a resource group is just what it sounds like. It's a group of your resources. But a resource can be a bunch of things. It can be a database. It can be, different things that are basically attached to your Azure functions can be grouped into that, into your function app in this case. Our function app name is going to be the name of our function app. So this thing that we're building, Julia Rules, it's an amazing Azure function project that no one's ever seen before. And we decided to use code versus a Docker container. If you're not familiar with Docker and you're new to this, that's okay. Docker is just basically a way of being able to use and commit different types of code and saving it. And it's a way of working with code, I should say. And then we've got our version here. I have 14. Should I put 12, Julia?
I don't know. I think mine is the highest is 12. So
okay. I'll leave it at 14. If we have issues, we'll blame it on the 14. And then region. So for people who are wondering, okay, why do I need to put a region? And does the region have to be close to my home? Well, that depends, right? So let's say, Julia, we are building Julia Rules, the multi-million-dollar startup app that we're building. And a majority of our users are, let's see, I'm going to choose an area in the UK, in the western part of the UK. Now, if I'm building something for a set of users that are in a particular area, having that be closer to them, the region be closer to them, can be useful. Now, a use case that I love to share for this is when I used to travel and show different demos and examples of my application, in particular, the Fake Boyfriend app, which required making an API request to Twilio, contacting that phone number, having that come back. It has to travel a really, really, really long way back to West US 2. I'm in California, of course, to make sure that runs. So picking your region is really dependent on where your users are based, maybe where you're based while you're programming this application. But the reason that region can be really important just has to do with availability. It can do with a lot of different legal things if you're dealing with healthcare apps or different, if you have to have your servers in a different place. So if you're just building an application for fun, for Bitcamp, really just pick the one that's closest to you. You're probably not going to have a bunch of users when you're first starting out on this thing. So best default is the closest location to yourself. And if you want more info on that, you can check out my YouTube. I have a really awesome video with Jay, I should say, on how and why you should pick those different regions. But all right, I'm going to click. Should I click through? Should I go to the next part?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think the rest of this is good.
Yeah, usually I don't go through here a lot and change a bunch of different things. Should I change this to Linux maybe though? Let's see. I don't think we changed it last time. We're gonna keep it.
I don't
like
think we changed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got monitoring. So this is just for any kind of application. I always enable application insights because I always want to know what's going on with my stuff. Tags here, we're not going to be using tags. And then review and create. Actually, you know what? I am going to change it to Linux because we are going to be doing it locally on my device. So I'm just going to hop back in a sec. But yeah, basically all we're doing with this is creating the function app. We haven't written any code yet. We are simply creating the app so we can put the code into it. And that's going to create our resource folder. That's going to kind of give us our spot in the cloud, so to speak. If you're more of a visual person like me, we're just reserving that little, almost like a little hotel room in the server somewhere in West US 2 and create. Okay, Julia rules. It's happening. So while that deployment's happening, that should take like a couple seconds, minute or two. Should I hop back over here? Let's see. Okay. So.
Yeah. Should we go over committing changes to the Learning Lab?
Sure. Actually, did this just...
Oh, did it finish? No, it's not finished.
It's very close to being finished. Yes. Committing changes in the Learning Lab.
So the main place you're going to be committing changes, and the kind of the easiest place is on the website itself. So where you want to go is scroll to the top, and then go click Bitcamp Learning Lab test, the repo or repository. You can also just shorten it to repo, and then you're going to click Add File at the right there, and then you can hit Upload Files if you coded it maybe in Visual Studio Code. But for right now, we're going to hit Create New File. And then file title.
Julia rules. It's a theme. Julia rules. How many is that? 1, 2, 3. We're going to go with 4. Okay.
Okay. And then I think it has to be dot something, right? Like dot JS.
Julia rules.
Yeah.
Dot. What should we make it? Should we make this dot markdown?
Yeah, sure. Okay. And then just type in enter your code or whatever you're supposed to add in there, because it'll direct you in the Learning Lab what code you should commit, and then go to the bottom once you're done.
Should I actually put real code in here? Is it going to get mad?
I don't think it matters.
Okay, cool.
And then also you can think adding like a summary maybe or description and title.
So for folks who, okay, let's check on our thing.
Yeah.
It's complete. Yeah. Okay, wait, we're going to context switch real quick.
Okay.
Hold that thought. So Julia rules exists. We've got the resource group here. And this will just show people real quick what we're dealing with. So this, in creating what we just created, putting all that information in, seems like not that much. We have our function app. We've got our application insights. We have our storage account here. We have our app service plan. There's all this fun stuff that we can click into over here. I, of course, am not going to be sharing any secrets on this. We're going to be taking this down afterwards, so no funny stuff, y'all. Should we click on the function app, Julia?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we are in the function. Awesome. Let's see. we're gonna click down. I think we're gonna hit functions right there.
Function, getting funky. And also for folks who this is like completely new for, basically what this is just showing us is this is that resource group. So remember, our app is called Julia Rules with 3 Ds, and then our resource group has one. So if we open up this resource group, that's going to take us over here. And these are all the different resources. Now we're actually over here in the function app. And yeah, just like Julia said, we've got our app keys, we've got all our things here. I'm going to actually click on the function. And of course, we don't have one yet because we haven't made one yet. So should we make our function in, well, we made one before. We made so we have one that we made before. But here, we can do our set it and forget it one. Let me hop out and hop back in again. So basically what we've done is we've kind of made this, we've made a version ahead of time to make things a little bit easier for y'all. So I am going to, actually, here we go. Okay. Oh, actually, were we going to make the function in Visual Studio Code first?
I think we're actually going to do it in the portal.
Do it in the portal? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Let me share this. Julia Rules. Okay. Ta-da! Should we make our first function, Julia?
Yes.
Time. Okay. Ooh, look, we can even choose our development environment. Fancy, fancy. Okay, so let's go over here into, I'm going to share VS Code. And we added all those lovely servers earlier. Or sorry, services or extensions. Gosh, it's late, y'all. I'm going to share VS Code. Here we go. Ta-da! Okay. And because we did that, we can actually start making our own stuff. Okay. So look at that, everyone. Julia Rules right here in VS Code. It is synced with all of our stuff. Okay. So we've got so here are our functions here. And let's, and we've got the option here to open in the portal, which is great. Just tested that out. It works. Yay. And now we can actually make our function right in here. So so we have the option to deploy to the function app. We have all of these different, we can delete the function app here if we want to. There's so many different ways that we can do this here. I am just going to get in the right folder. Okay, hold on. Let me share and reshare. I'm having a moment. Okay. Going to go here. You must have function open. Okay, there we go. I'm going to open an existing project. Sorry, I'm clicking around all over the place here. There we go. Sharing. VS Code. Okay. So, sorry, I just had it working. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we have our function that we created. Just to give people a little recap here, we created our function in the portal, but now we're going to come in here and we are going to basically, this is all going to sync together so we can have our function locally and we'll have our function in the portal. Sorry, this is like, for whatever reason, thing keeps freezing here. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's a handy dandy button. Ta-da. Okay. Handy dandy button right here, this create function button. We're going to open an Ooh, have we created a project yet? No, because we haven't written the code. So we're creating a new project. And I'm just going to do it on my desktop. Okay, everybody ignore how messy my desktop is. 1 second. I'm going to save this in a special little Bootcamp week 1 folder. Perfection. And I guess, okay, now I can share my screen again. Don't want anybody stealing my stuff. Okay, then we have this very, very handy thing similar to what we walked through. So we're now showing you the version of this that you can do locally on Visual Studio Code. And let's see. We're going to do, are we doing JavaScript, Julia? Let's see.
I think it is. I think it's JavaScript. Yeah. Oh yeah, HTTP trigger.
Perfect. And what should we name this function? We'll name it Julia Rocks. And we're going to make it a function. And we're going to open it in the current window. Ta-da! Ba, 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 ba. Look at that. Amazing. Whoa, look at all this code that we just wrote, Julia. How did we do that? It's a template, everyone. We're just great. Okay. So let's look at this code that it gave us. So this is kind of the default code that you're getting for most Azure functions when you're making them. And this is basically saying module.exports async function. We're logging that the HTTP trigger is going to run a request. And then really what it's doing is telling us that it's run successfully. So this is just literally code that tells us if the function is working or not. Now, I am going to... How does this look, Julia? This is what the challenge... Let's hop back real quick to just to catch up people to what we were doing before. I'm going to now share my screen here. Okay. Da, 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 da. So it was asking us to create and deploy an Azure function trigger that outputs the current time and date. I think we can do this, Julia. So while I am getting my stuff to not freeze here, how about we share your screen for just a second, Julia, and you can show people how to commit to the Learning Lab.
All right, let me just get this up first.
Sorry, y'all. I am working on a different, I don't have my double monitors today, so I am just really having a time here. Okay, so I am hopping in here. Da, 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 da. All right. And if this, oops, here we go. There we go. Okay. Ooh, I don't see your screen share option yet.
Okay. Hold on just a second. Getting this up.
No problem. Sorry, y'all. I just had to restart my thing here. Much better. Okay. Let's see.
Okay. Here we go.
Yay.
Okay, so let's just create a new file again. I don't know. Chloe rocks. And then whoops. And then you're going to want to come down here and where it says commit new file, and then also just say, yeah, create file. And then this description goes here. And then commit directly to the master branch. And then also, so then you're going to want to hit commit new file here. And that should work. And it's right here. And so we have just committed a file.
Yay! And my VS Code is now working. Yay. I am going to share my screen now. It's technically a holiday here, so I think my computer's just it's just taking a little nap here. Okay. So basically what let's see, deploy anyway, there we go. So basically what I just did while you were doing that, Julia, is I went over here and sorry, let me go over here. I right-clicked on Julia Rocks and I deployed my function app. So I deployed it to Julia Rules, and I can actually see now if we go to the portal, which I will share the portal now. Oh my gosh, it worked. Spoiler alert, it worked. Okay, sharing this one. So, okay, sorry. I went through that really quickly. So let me recap this real quick. I'll write a little note in here so I can kind of demonstrate this. So this was the template version of the Azure function that we created. And this was all good to go, and I wanted to make sure that it synced up to what we had in the portal. So I went over here, I right-clicked on Julia Rocks, I said deploy to function app, and now through the magic, this is the part of Willy Wonka where like Mike TV like goes into the cloud. He like goes, blip, 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 blip. And now when I share this lovely Chrome tab, which hopefully, yes, here we go. Now if I go to Julia Rules, over here, oops, I totally just clicked out of the actual thing that I want. Let me make this a little bigger. That Azure function, hold on, let's go back here. So here's the portal. And then we go to Julia Rules, and that Azure function exists right in the, sorry, I should have clicked resources. Here we go. No, I shouldn't have. Okay. Where am I going? What is my life? Sorry, y'all. It's late. I'm going to click back again. There we go. Okay, Julia Rules. So Julia Rocks, which we just created, is in here right now. So you'll notice here it says editing functions in Azure portal is not supported for Linux consumption function apps. Basically what that means is you want to be editing your code in VS Code and then doing what I just did and deploying it right there. So we've got Julia Rules here. We can actually look at how many times it's executed, everything that we need to know, all the application insights that we need about this. But yeah, magic. We now have our function apps inside of here. Very exciting stuff. So should we try running this perhaps? Or
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let me, sorry, this is, I'm getting all kinds of, okay, there we go. Function URL. Okay. Now I'm going to share my screen again. Da-da-da. The wonders of Julia Rules, Julia Rocks. Okay. So here we go. So we've got our function app, Julia Rules. We've got our URL here. So it says our function app is up and running. And Julia, if we want to test this baby out, I believe, oops, I have the wrong thing copied in here. And I just downloaded this. I'm clicking things left and right. Okay, so we're going to go back to Julia Rocks. We're going to go here. So we have our successful execution count. We have all these things here. We can grab our function URL, which is this lovely link right here. We're going to copy it to the clipboard. And let me, so I just went to that URL. Am I sharing that? No, I'm not.
No.
I'm going to stop this and share. Okay, we're going to take a step back. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to share my application window here. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to share this screen that's going to look kind of boring, but we'll explain what this is in a second. So basically what I did is I copied a link, very simple link, from our Julia Rocks area here, which I will show you. Okay, so we're here in the function. We get the function URL. We copy this lovely URL. It kind of looks like a long gobbledygook code, Julia Rocks kind of thing. We paste it in here. That takes us here. It says this HTTP trigger executed successfully, pass a name in the query string or in a request body for a personalized response. So you can do that if you want to. It will totally work. It's up and running now. But now that we've done this, we can actually look at it running. So it obviously ran successfully because we were able to go to it. But we can actually, oops, let me go back here. We can actually take a look in a second to see how many times it's run successfully. But we know that it's running successfully, obviously, because we were just able to access it. So these will update in just a second here. We did it, Julia. We made it. We made an Azure function.
Yay!
Hopefully people didn't get too confused by my learning how to screen share on StreamYard here. Apologies for any confusion. But we made an Azure function. high five through the screen. So let's go. I'm going to bring our tab here on our week 1 stuff. And I'm going to resume. All right. So we made an Azure function. It didn't output the current date and time, but I don't want to give any spoilers to our folks who are playing along at home. I have full faith that they can do it. Should we? Okay, it says comment below describing what you completed. I very confusingly screamed my portal and VS Code. Hopefully it makes sense now.
And if it doesn't make total sense, it's we describe it again in the Learning Lab, and there's also a blog at the end of each week that reviews what you went over, what you should have learned during that week. And
I'm going to comment this. I think just comment, not close with comment.
Yeah, post a comment.
Ta-da! Refresh this. Ooh, it already did it before I even refreshed. Okay. So now we have Learning GitHub. I'm moving this over so I can see your face. Okay. So for this assignment, we'll follow through. So for those following along at home, this is task 3 is going to be create a repository, commit a README file. Ooh, so fun. Love a good README. And committing changes, making a pull request. To move on, add your name to the README file in this repository and commit the change. Also, comment a summary of what you completed. Okay, so to navigate over to this README, I believe we just go here, right, Julie?
And then the README dot markdown.
Awesome.
And then the little pencil button in the corner, right there.
Ta-da! Ooh, I'm going to put an emoji. What do we think about emojis? Okay, let's do Bitcamp. Do a camp. We did it. All right. And let's see. Updated. This is a note. So when you're committing code in your terminal, this is the equivalent to like writing a comment on, committing your changes here. So I'm going to say updated README. Very simple. And
it's good because it helps keep track of what you've been adding or editing, all that stuff.
There's a really funny Twitter account that I highly recommend following that is just very funny commit messages from engineers, like flustered, frustrated commit messages, like trying this again, ugh. Very relatable content. All right, cool, we did it. All right, and hopping back here to our lovely We2. We did this. A summary. We did it. Of course, we're going through this very quickly and slowly, but y'all at home are going to do it efficiently and very professionally. Okay, now we have week 1 live stream. Please complete after you viewed week 1 live stream. Oh no! Well, in order to make sure that they comment on this and say nice things, let's walk through real quick, Julia, in a very non-confusing linear way. And we appreciate everybody who has been so patient while doing this. I've totally been ignoring the comments. Sorry, y'all. What did we do today? And I'm going to show my screen while we do it.
Okay.
So first,
we installed or downloaded Visual Studio Code, and also installed the necessary extensions that you'll need to develop your or any kind of Azure function locally in Visual Studio Code.
This right here, this little square here. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it's like a broken Microsoft logo.
Ooh.
Never put that together before. Yes, this is where we went in and we got all those awesome things like Azure Functions. We put Live Server in here, all sorts of fun things that are going to be able to help us use Visual Studio Code better. So step 1, we downloaded Visual Studio Code.
Yep.
Then we made an Azure account.
Actually, I think first we learned GitHub. So
we learned GitHub, yeah.
So we enrolled in the course. We learned how to commit changes, add comments, just kind of complete the course.
And this is, let me share the Chrome tab with the course in it here. Here we go. Da, 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 da. Okay, wait, this is not the right one. Y'all, I'm really good at StreamYard. I'm just like, okay. The link is right here. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard and ta-da. Okay. The little computer that could. Okay, here we go. Then we went here. I just want to share this tab. I have too many tabs open, everyone. Okay, let's see. I'm going to, you know what? I'm just going to open this in a brand new window. This
Okay.
makes my life so much easier. Okay, here we go. Application window. There we go. Okay. This is the lovely, and look at that. Look at all the things that we crossed out today, except for feedback and the live stream. Oh, awesome. It's a live stream blog format.
Yeah.
So yes, we downloaded the, we went through here, we closed this issue. It told us nice. We said Julia rules. Then we create an Azure account. A reminder for anybody who maybe forgot what that looked like. That was when we were in the portal. I, of course, already have an Azure account. Y'all out there are probably making your own. And this is where we were able to come in here and create our app. So we're just going to do this in fast motion now.
Yeah.
I was telling Julia back when I used to do theater, we called it like a speed run through. I guess they do that in video games now too. We made our function app. So we went in here, we created all of this, we reviewed and we created it, which then brought us over to our awesome Julia rules function that we created. We created this function not in the portal.
In Visual Studio Code.
In VS Code. Julia rocks, of course. But to hop through that real quick, we created the Azure Function app in the portal itself. Then I hopped in to Visual Studio Code, which looks a little something like this. We created our application by we made we clicked create function. It made this lovely template for us. That's when we went through the lovely process over here of adding the function. And then we synced it with our actual project. So once we updated the code, so like code, and that's actual code, we went over here and we clicked deploy to function app. We selected our Julia rules one here. It said, do you want to overwrite? We didn't have anything to overwrite, so we did it. That went through. And then, like Mike TV, through the airwaves, it ended up, drum roll, into the unknown. Just kidding. It brought us here, created this lovely function for us. So this is what we just saw in Visual Studio Code. If you're a visual person like me, this is the same function. Julia Rocks exists in Visual Studio Code and here for us. This is just our version in the portal. And look at that. There's our successful attempt. We hit that URL twice there. So we're getting that here. But for folks who maybe don't remember how we did this, we got our function URL. We copied it. We pasted it here, and anytime that we're running this URL, it's running that Azure function. Now, Julia, people who are new to Azure Functions are probably like, what the? So we just like made a website that has a sentence on it? But let's take a step back for a sec and talk about what an Azure function actually is, because we touched on it briefly at the beginning, but now that we're coming back to it at the end, Azure Functions are sort of these functions that rest at a URL endpoint. And I kind of picture them as like they're kind of snoozing, they're taking a nap, and we really don't use them until we kind of poke them. We're like, hey, I need you to send this phone number through Twilio, or hey, I need you to check my database to see if there's any new entries. Another project that I've built is an Azure Functions turnip timer that will tell me when I need to sell my turnips in Animal Crossing. So my Azure function sleeps most of the week, wakes up on Sunday when I poke it. Well, when the timer pokes it, it's an Azure Functions timer. And then it checks the database, see if there's any new names in there, and then sends out notifications to the various places through that Azure function. And that is just that URL. So I say this all because you're probably looking at this and thinking, okay, Chloe, I don't get it. You're saying Azure Functions are so cool, and yet you're just showing me this. Here, I'll share the very kind of basic thing here, this sentence on a screen. But imagine if instead of it just going to this page, it did something. Now, for your application that you built, Julia, what was your Azure function doing in your project?
Mine was whenever you clicked, whenever you sent your zip code, whenever you pressed the button that said, yeah, send your zip code, it would call an API, and using your zip code, it would actually retrieve the forecast data for tomorrow, and then it would send it back to my computer, and it would run it through an algorithm that wasn't inside the Azure function, but it connected the two. It was really just kind of a bridge.
Yeah, and look at that. We've put it in again. So we've got another server request here because I just entered the URL again. But some exciting things are going to happen with these Azure functions. Now that we know how to create one, now we can create code that can be executed every time that this endpoint gets hit. So, I'm trying to think of more creative examples to get our awesome students' brains just churning on the different things and possibilities that they can be making with Azure Functions. It can be anything from, oh my gosh, one of my favorite things is using Twilio to like trigger phone calls, text messages. It's been on my back burner as a project for a while. Julia, you're probably too young to know who Clippy is, but I wanted to make like a Clippy affirmation reminder that like every day at a random time would text me something nice. Like the possibilities are truly endless. Like anything that you can create with a function, like anything you make a function more for, you can use your Azure function to execute that. So it doesn't have to be from a user's click necessarily. It can also be something that's just sitting, waiting to be accessed from a different kind of action. I've seen some folks who've made different Azure function triggers that will help turn on lights in their home when a certain action is performed. Or Bo, who was one of your instructors, Julia, used Azure IoT Hub to like have a different, an Azure function that would notify his, I think it was his, notify him if his grandpa's heartbeat reached a certain level. So he had a wearable device, and if the heart rate spiked or went down, he was sent a notification to say like, hey, you might want to check in on grandpa, make sure everything's okay. So there's all sorts of ways to use these. Gosh, the list goes on and on and on, but if people want more awesome examples, definitely check out. I have a bunch on my Dev 2, and of course we have all the awesome projects on my Dev 2 of the previous Bootcamp cohorts. But did we do it all? Did we complete everything that we were going to complete?
I think we did.
I think we did it. It made it a little confusing. And thank you everyone for bearing with us with this is our first stream for this series. We promise week 2 and week 3 and week 100 after this will be a lot clearer. But again, we've walked through how to use Learning Lab. Very exciting. Super exciting for people to check this out. We learned how to use GitHub. Well, I already had Visual Studio Code, but we told the lovely people at home all the different things that need to add Visual Studio Code that'll help them. We made an Azure function app. We created an Azure function out of a template in VS Code. We then put that Azure function, synced it with the cloud, so it is now up in the portal, so we could see it there. We ran it with the URL in the portal. I guess we could have done that outside of the portal as well, but we did it while we were in the portal. And now we made a beautiful Azure function that just displays some lovely text for us. That's really what the code said. We should have known that ahead of time. But yeah, I'm really excited because let's see, next week, let's take a look at this, the curriculum that we have here for next week. I'm just opening up the tab here.
Yeah, next week's really cool. You start getting into the like coding more complicated Azure function.
Yes, and I'm super excited because, oh my gosh, we're playing a really fun thing where we are doing some beard detection. Um, So week 2, let's see. We're going to be parsing multi-part data. We've got all this stuff. Creating a face API endpoint and then calling the face API and fetching it. And oh my goodness, it's super, super fun. I practiced this one already, y'all. Let's just say if you want to submit, well, I think I have some good pictures to use here. But we're going to be testing out something very exciting, which is can the Face API, so a little bit of context, Microsoft Face API, really, really cool, can detect faces, expressions, hair color, eye color, oh my gosh, facial hair, hats, glasses, all kinds of things. But when I was testing out next week's stream, I have this photo of my boyfriend, and he is holding a pancake. This is from Thailand. He has a beard, and he's holding a pancake that was a 3D, not a 3D printed, but it used an image of him to print a face of his pancake. And no spoilers, but we're going to see if the Microsoft Face API will detect the pancake face as a real face. Now, I know the answer to this. I'll share a fun fact real quick, and then I'll ask what you think, Julia, because I don't think I told you, or maybe someone's. Okay, good. So I love the Microsoft Face API, and I have this project that I built, which I will share with the lovely folks at home real quick on this screen. It is a Mario Kart astrology application. Let's see, Mario Kart astrology, Chloe. There we go. So I have this project that was really fun to build. It was my first time working with the Microsoft Face API, and it's all about Mario Kart astrology. Basically, the concept is using the Face API, being able to determine what your chosen Mario Kart player says about you based on the Mario Kart player that you chose. Now, the one downside that I discovered while building this is that the Microsoft Face API doesn't use cartoon faces, which was my first barrier to entry. But then I found cosplayer images and was able to use those. Now, spoiler but not spoiler alert, with this pancake situation, I was like, okay, is this image going to detect one face or two faces? What do you think, Julia? Do you think it detected one or two?
I'm going to guess 2, just random, but probably 1.
Tune in next week to find the real answer, but the answers may surprise you. I am really, really excited. The Face API is always so fun. I just love to be able to upload an image and have it immediately know exactly where the face is. I've seen some people put the cool sunglasses, just land on it, or put a crown on, or different things to do. But we are going to be detecting beard or no beard. So if you are watching today and you're joining us next week and you have an image of someone in your life, maybe you, a friend, a family member that you feel comfortable sharing, and you want to see if it will detect the beard or not, try to stump it, send it to us. We will test it out live on the stream because I think it's going to be a really fun beard or no beard episode. All right. Well, okay. Let's see. We got a couple comments here. Da, 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 da. Yes. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Oh, wow. We had a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old that stayed interested for most of the stream. Wow. That's incredible because we barely were able to stay interested in majority of the stream because I got very confused with the different tabs. But hopefully it was interesting. And we got cool. Yes. Love the emoji. We love. And any closing remarks, Julia, before we close out this session?
If it's tough, stick with it because the end, just the end of the learning lab, it's really awesome when you can actually come up with.
Yes, I am always so impressed. Actually, before we go, let's share a couple of those projects just to get people inspired on some of these different projects that people can build. I'm going to go to Bev2 here, and then we'll close out. We'll close it out on a very happy, ceremonious, celebrating, standing on the shoulders of former bit campers here. Here we go. Da, da, da. Okay, so to give people a little inspo here, we're gonna share some fun stuff. So this is what I was talking about before with Bo. He built a heart rate monitor with Azure IoT Hub. This is the one I was talking about earlier with his grandpa monitoring that. But here are some projects from our first time doing Bootcamp. We have this one, of course, from Natalie, which will pick your song based on the image that you upload of your face. We have taking control of information accountability with Azure Functions. So in this project, Jesse used Azure Functions to determine if data was biased that was being put out for political things. Very timely app. This scheduling bot from Magna, really awesome, helped to schedule different things with Azure Functions. So if you're looking for inspo, take a look in here. We've got emotional analysis, very similar to what we're going to be doing with our Beard app. So there's so many things. I know today probably if you're getting started with Azure Functions, you're probably like, what's this kooky orange-haired lady talking about Azure Functions being fun? All I did was put a sentence on the screen. I promise it gets way more fun. We're learning the basics. We're learning the fundamentals here. And with all of this, you're like, West US 2? Like, what am I doing here? But we promise it gets really fun. So stay tuned. Join us next week and the week after. And we will see you next week, y'all. Thanks for joining today, Julia.
Yeah.
And we will be seeing you around, I'm sure.
Yep.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.